Welcome to beautiful downtown Grand Forks. It is Monday, January 13th, approximately 5:30 p.m. This is the time and place for the Grand Forks Committee of the Whole meeting. Item 1 is call to order. 1.1, welcome and roll call.
Weigel.
Here.
Osowski.
Here.
Berg.
Here.
Lunsky.
Here.
Friedolfs. Sandy. And Veen.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Item number 2, informational items. 2.1, legislative update. Mr. Bernstrom.
Thank you, Vice President Weigel, members of the City Council. North Dakota legislative session is starting week 2 today. Just a real quick update on some things that we're following from a city level this week. Well, actually, I should say at the state level, 486 bills have been filed so far. We're tracking about 60 of those. They're expecting over 1,000 to be filed this year. So lots of reading here in the next couple of weeks. The deadline for filing bills here is a couple of weeks away. This week, Mr. Phelan, first time I've seen Todd today. Welcome back from Bismarck. Mr. Phelan and Mr. Love were in Bismarck this morning testifying for House Bill 1102, and that would have the BCI place 2 agents here in Grand Forks focusing on cyber crimes. They've done this throughout the state, and the northeast region of the state is the last portion of the state they've funded. So it's funding for two BCI officers, correct? 2 to be placed here in Grand Forks. We provided testimony in support to that bill. And then that one this week. And then I also want to make a note for you guys to take a peek. I'm not sure you've read in the paper, the governor has given his plan for property tax relief in the form of the bill that is House Bill 1176. That provides that primary residence tax credit, the cap on property tax budgets. But again, if there's getting to be a few of those property tax related bills, the governor's plan is House Bill 1176. And then just quickly, if you take a look at your screens there, I just want to show you on the website. If you go down to services, I have a legislative session right here. So if you're curious bills that we're tracking or where we're at, you can take a look here. The bill tracking, I have it broken down by the bills we're tracking, and you can sort them by our priorities or House bills or oppose or support. You can take a look at them that way. So with that, I'm open to any questions. A little bit shorter today as they're just now really getting into introduction of bills and committee hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstrom. Any comments for him? Seeing none, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks, man.
Move on to item number 3, discussion items. 3.1 is the application for Class 2 off-sale alcoholic beverage license from Bonzer's Bottle Shop, LLC.
Move approval.
We have a motion approved by Osowski, second by Berg. Mr. Bonzer, thanks for being here. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. 3.2, application for Class 1 on and off-sale general alcoholic beverage license from Blarney Stone Pub, LLC.
I move approval.
We have a motion approved by Osowski,
Second.
second by Berg. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 3.3, create special assessment district for project number 8916, district number 611, UND Pond Outfall on North 25th Street, 2nd Avenue North to University Avenue.
Good evening, Vice President Weigel and members of the committee. This is city project number 8916, district number 611. The UND Pond Outfall on North 25th Street, going from 2nd Avenue North to University Avenue. This project will consist of installing approximately 110 feet of new storm sewer along North 25th Street from 2nd Avenue North to University Avenue to serve as an outfall for the new stormwater pond that was installed next to the Pollard. This last year, the new stormwater was privately installed on UND property to handle the increased runoff from the development in that area. It is also serving to drain all of the water from 2nd Avenue itself that is going into that pond. This project will continue installing the pipe along North 25th Street, where we will temporarily connect to the existing storm sewer That connection is intended to remain until we reconstruct University Avenue, where we will continue up to Columbia Road to connect it fully to the existing storm sewer there. The total construction cost for this project is estimated to be $182,000, which will be 100% special assessed to the benefiting properties in the drainage area. And the staff recommended action is to approve the engineer's report, create the special assessment district, and direct engineering to prepare plans and specs for the project.
I move approval.
Thank you, Ms. Bremer. We have a motion to approve by Sowski.
Second.
Second by Berg. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3.4, Street Maintenance Division Medium Duty Truck Purchase.
I move approval.
I'll second.
We have a second, or a motion approved by Osowski, second by Berg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 3.5 is Collections Roll-Off Cable Truck Purchase.
I move approval.
Motion to approve by Osowski, second by Lunsky. Okay. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. 3.6, Stormwater Truck Loader and Brush Mower Attachment
I
Purchase.
move approval.
A motion to approve by Osowski, second by Berg. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. 3.7, Professional Services for Phase 1 Downtown Gateway and Greenway Project Number 8525. Ms. Parvey.
Good evening. Last spring, we came before you and asked to submit an application working with the North Dakota Parks and Recs Department, and found out this fall that we were successful in that application, working with the National Park Service with their with their Outdoor Recreation Legacy Program. And so tonight, we've been working with the state, and we did an RFQ for qualifications, asking those that were interested in proposing to submit professional services, so we could look at the initial design for this project. As you recall, and the map is shown up here tonight, that is the area that is just to the south of the Sorley Bridge or Gateway Drive. Demers Avenue. And that area would just be developed. It's about 20-some acres. This area was in particular of interest because it met the interest of the community to do the Justice 40, which was actually providing space in the natural area that was for the underserved. As we've been working through that, we did receive 3 different proposals. The committee that was put together had recommended proceeding with Houston Engineering and also with RDG. They had worked on the initial master plan, and so tonight we're before you asking that they begin that initial preliminary design. In part of that work will actually include looking at if we move any dirt around in that area, that we're able to meet profiles and work with the hydraulics and hydrology analysis for the project, as well as continue to gain some input from the community on that.
Thank you, Ms. Parvey. Comments? Ms. Osowski.
Yeah, I have some comments. I guess I'm really excited that we got this grant, and my biggest concern is putting too much infrastructure on that side of our flood wall. I think whatever you guys do down there will be very nice, but maintenance is then going to go up. And if we start putting, these removable buildings that we've talked about in the past, we're going to have to pay someone to pull them out, put them back in. And I just want to be very cautious about what we put on that side of the flood wall and make sure that then we don't get in over our heads with the maintenance costs of it, or even having to clean it out a couple times a year. Right now, I think that it's very beautiful. Our bike paths are pretty easy to maintain with the equipment and the staff that we have right now. But the more stuff we put down there, the more it's going to cost us to operate it. And so I just want to be really cautious moving forward that we don't get ourselves in over our heads with maintenance, cleanup, and different situations like that, especially being on that side of our flood protection. So, thank you, and I move approval.
Thank you, Ms. Osowski, for your comments. Second by Lunsky. Sorry. Ms. Lunsky, your comments?
So this is just a rough sketch, I assume, but are we going to change the levee? So how the levee is now, it's going to soon be at an angle? And
There
the-
isn't any intent to adjust anything within the flood protection, within the levee or that opening area. So this is a really rough sketch. The Phase 3 that you see with that town square has it had some initial thoughts that we could consider opening it up. That hasn't been discussed any further than an actual concept plan itself. So the intent would be to work within the existing infrastructure, really providing some access, ADA access from both sides to get in and out of that space, and then try to utilize their existing restrooms until there's any sort of update to that town square facility.
And so like, we're thinking about putting a parking lot on the Greenway side?
So the area that you see that says potential future parking, that wouldn't actually be included in this part of the project either. So we would prepare that area if we want to, during the initial design, that it could in the future be turned into parking if we chose to do that. But right now, the language that we submitted to the National Park Service didn't include that component either.
And is this the only space we can use the grant, is from Demers to basically the railroad bridge?
For this project, correct. This area actually goes from Demers Avenue almost all the way down to Minnesota Avenue. So there are some other areas within the Greenway, but not to the north of there. However, we have had some conversations that when you have a project of this scale and a master plan, that they might consider within a certain distance of that area in the future. But for this project, it's just that area.
Okay, and I assume you'll have some public input meetings?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lunsky. Mr. Veen?
Yeah, thank you. So Phase 1 is all we're talking about. Obviously, on this plan, there's 3 phases, right?
Correct.
And that was potential, and RDG was the architect that came up with this concept plan
Correct.
and the different phasing that's going to take place?
Correct. We work closely with them to determine what would be feasible, yes, for
Is
phase 2.
is there extension of any underground infrastructure into this area?
At this point, we're going to make sure that we have what is existing that works within the system. So any sort of storm sewer that needs to be adjusted, we will. But no, we wouldn't add any underground infrastructure into this area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veen. Further comments and questions? We have a motion by Osowski, a second by Lunsky. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parvey. Item number 3.8, Cirrus Working Draft Development Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Phelan.
Vice President Weigel and members of the committee, a couple exciting projects coming forward. I want to also introduce, we do have 2 Cirrus representatives. I'm going to give a project overview, and they're Mr. Steve Thomas, who is the site manager for Cirrus, is going to come up and give you a project overview. This is important. Mayor Buczynski and I, along with JDA Chair and Council Member Weber, at the time we went out to Duluth, to discuss future plans of Cirrus, probably a year or so ago. This was one of the expansions that they were looking at in various locations, at least 2 other locations from Grand Forks. And so over this last year or so, we've been working to strategically place us in a position where we could continue to expand the production facility here in Grand Forks, as opposed to another location. So that's really what this initial 30,000 square foot addition is. They've estimated at $10.5 million. And then also they currently, as you know, the JDA did sell the remaining portion of the Cirrus building back to Cirrus. They are going to make some improvements in that building and also place some equipment in this building. So it's overall almost a $15 million investment in their facility. Really, one of the important keys is we wanted to make sure that we did everything possible here in Grand Forks, that we are the hub currently of the production of all of the various parts that go into either one of their piston airplane or their or their jet, and we wanted to make sure that we did everything possible that we can maintain that role of Grand Forks really being that key entity and continue to expand its role as we move forward. Beyond this 30,000 square feet, as the staff report notes, they are looking at even a larger expansion, up to a 60,000 square foot addition within the next 5 years. So this initial 30,000 really sets us up in partnering with Cirrus for that larger expansion as we move forward. If you were here right after the Great Recession, Cirrus went through some tough times, and so to see Cirrus where they are today, and as really the global leader in personal aircraft, it's quite gratifying for you if you look at 10 to 15 years later, all their growth and expansion. I did ask kind of where they are with personnel. They're at about 485 personnel. This initial expansion will provide 30 to 45 additional personnel, so they really have grown. And so again, if you were here 10, 15 years ago, you would have heard a number 2 to 250 employees. So they really have expanded over the last 10 to 15 years and really been a huge success story in Grand Forks, and has really become one of our largest employers in Grand Forks. LM Wind Power is probably on average plus or minus around 800 employees. JR Simplot plus or minus is around 400 employees. And so Cirrus Aircraft is a really big deal as an employer and as a manufacturer. We want to do everything we can to make sure we maintain that hub here in Grand Forks. In addition, what we did is, because we were competing with other communities that wanted to host this company, and when other communities want to do it, they offer incentives, they offer buildings, to try to entice. And so what we've offered in this case is a 10-year, 100% tax exemption. We started out with a 5-year, 100% exemption, because at 5 years, we do not have to go to the other taxing entities. But when we figured out kind of where they're at versus other communities, we felt that a 10-year, 100% was warranted, and that we would move forward with that. The other piece of this incentive is to move forward with PACE financing that you're used to on the Growth Fund Committee and at the JDA, and so that would be very similar to what we'd offer any primary sector industry as we move forward. So those are the two component parts. This is really a strategic investment for not only for Cirrus Aircraft, but for the city of Grand Forks. And with that, I'd ask Cirrus Aircraft to speak firsthand about this particular investment.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the council for hosting and letting me talk a little bit about this expansion. We're really excited about it. This expansion enables future production rate increases. It allows us to bring the SR-10, which will be a brand new airplane. It'll be a training airplane. All production of parts will happen here in Grand Forks, and that will create approximately 30 to 45 new manufacturing jobs here in Grand Forks. Along with that, it lays the infrastructure in place for other product development programs that we have in the future to increase our production rates, bring new programs to market. It allows us to lay out the factory a little bit more efficiently. It provides us the space for Cirrus, to invest upwards of $5 million in capital for tooling and automation. It also sets the table for roughly another 90,000 square foot expansion that will really allow Cirrus to expand, grow, and produce airplanes for, it will set Grand Forks as the composite manufacturing for Cirrus Aircraft. We're really excited for it, and I thank you for your time.
Vice President Weigel, I would also update, the other really great part of this project is not only did we sell the building on behalf of on the JDA, but there was additional land that was adjacent, and that was really supposing an addition that would occur. So really this is coming together at this point in time. What we're asking this evening is that you'd approve this memorandum of understanding, and then we, with that approval, we'd start bringing back a formal development agreement, and then some of these require permissions, from the PACE B&D financing to the tax incentives. So you would see, if you so approve this next week, that more finality will continue to come your way. I also want to point out, as we know that Cirrus Aircraft is Chinese-owned, we do have attached, Mayor Bochinsky did reach out to our representative at the Department of Defense and the U.S. Air Force, Mr. Dan Burke, and you see the response there is that Cirrus Aircraft has really been a model company operating in the United States. And so, again, we're going to continue to go through our various due diligence, but we wanted to make sure that you had that in hand up front as we move through this particular investment. With that, I think we're ready for any further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Comments? Ms. Osowski?
So you guys still operate under CFIUS, correct?
Excuse me?
You guys are still operating under a CFIUS review, correct? Or you guys operate working with them still, correct?
Correct.
Okay, they still oversee your operation?
Yes.
Okay, and
Ultimately, yes.
I guess, did Cirrus reach out to CFIUS? Did you guys reach out to CFIUS, or are we just sending one email?
I can answer that question.
Mr. Phelan.
Council Vice President Weigel and Council Member Osowski. Certainly the company is responsible, but we are too, but we wanted to give you some upfront information as we move through the development process that currently at this point in time, there are no red flags. And certainly as we work through the development agreement and they move forward with their investment, there'll be further due diligence. But really at this point in time, we wanted to make sure that the city council understood that there are no red flags moving forward with this memorandum and development
I
agreement.
guess if you're operating under CFIUS guidance or review, I see that as red flags myself. I don't understand why we would give 100% tax break to a company that has ties to China and operates under a CFIUS review. I guess I don't agree with that at all. And who comes up with the 10 years, 100%? Is this what we're offering everybody now? Or like, how do we get to that number?
Council Vice President Weigel and Councilmember Osowski, we got to that number. Generally, the city of Grand Forks has kind of a rule of thumb. We offer the 5-year 100% tax exemption. In this case, we offered the additional 5-year. That helped close a financial piece with other sites where this investment was looking to be relocated. And so that's the reason why we went from the 5-year to the 10-year in order to close that.
Okay. I don't think that we should be subsidizing your taxes at all, being that you basically operate with a foreign country. And so I don't agree with this, and I think we should be very careful about who we issue tax breaks to.
Thank you, Ms. Osowski. Further comments? Mr. Bean?
Yeah, with a bit of a follow-up on that, I'm a little surprised at the 10-year 100%. I think that's the question. I mean, we've had a relationship with Cirrus since the very beginning. I think, it's been amazing, but there's different ownership now. But are we setting a new standard with the 10-year 100%? I understand you, as you said, you tried to fill a gap with competition. But I guess that's a struggle. That's all I can say. And I'm trying to understand why that makes sense to take that extra 5 years that you would propose. I've not seen this before.
Council Vice President Weigel and Councilmember Green. Well, I think it's in this case, they're a large manufacturer. They've grown to 485 employees. With this initial 30 and additional up to 60 to 90, certainly they're going to add more jobs. They're going to add more tax base. We maintain this as the hub for Cirrus Aircraft for all these parts, as opposed to dividing this growth into another community. And so we're trying to strengthen our location here in Grand Forks. I would point to tax incentives. If you want to think that 10 years is too long, that the Renaissance Zone, under the last legislature, moved it from 5 years to 8 years. And so if you were going to a downtown investment right now, a standard state tax incentive, property tax incentive, or over in Grand Cities is 8 years at this point in time. And so I don't think the 10 years is anything above and beyond what we've done. If you look at the Memorial Village, we offer 20-year tax exemptions on the UND campus. All the multiple downtown projects, all were 20-year tax exemptions, so this 10-year exemption with the primary sector industry, I think is quite a bargain for Grand Forks to not only have the existing growth we have for future growth, without having to provide any additional infrastructure grants and investments that we had to do. So if you look at the Memorial Village project, if you want to cite one that we've really celebrated, those were 20-year 90% tax exemptions, or a 20-year 95% exemption. So that was Memorial Village 1 and 2. In addition to that, we've guaranteed infrastructure investments. So we've spent well over $1 million on infrastructure investment for Memorial Village 1 and 2. In this case, we're not going to have to invest any infrastructure on these properties. So in many ways, this 10-year 100% exemption is really a minor piece when you look at all the various other projects that we've worked on, where we've provided Bank of North Dakota financing, we've offered infrastructure investments, and we've provided 20-year tax incentives. I think this is, if you want to look on the order of magnitude and a bargain, this is quite a bargain that we've provided, working with a company like Cirrus over the years. And we partner together, and we partner together on their growth.
So they're currently paying 100% on their existing building, is that right?
They are.
And how much is that?
I don't know what we have valued on their property. I can get you that before next week.
Before, yeah, I'd be anxious.
Right now, I don't believe they have any tax exemptions right now on their property. So this would be as part of their new expansion. So they currently do not have any tax exemptions, but we can get you that information on their existing. So it just demonstrates, I think, as we've talked before, Ken, of how these, or Councilmember Bean, how these have worked in our downtown. We wouldn't have the downtown we have without tax exemptions. And in this case, we didn't have to offer 20-year tax exemptions.
And in this case, I thought I heard them say there's $5 million in capital
Yep.
that they're reinvesting?
Yep. As you look at the staff report, they estimate a $10.5 million, 30,000 square foot building. They estimate that they are going to invest $2.5 million in capital equipment, and then also do a $1.5 million of investment in their current footprint of that 170,000 square feet. So really, they're doing 3 investments, renewing the existing structure, adding 30,000 square feet, and then adding equipment to this facility. And I think the other important part of this, it sets us up for the next expansion within the next 5 years of that 60 to 90,000 square foot expansion, to really assist them with keeping up with all the demand that they have. And so we're dealing with a company here that's growing and expanding, is the world leader in personal aircraft. And the reason why other communities are asking, because they're the world leader. Who wouldn't want in the United States to have their growth and expansion as the world leader in personal aircraft? So, and we have that currently right now. We want to fortify that and strengthen that in our community with all the investments they've currently made.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Further comments? Motions?
I'll make a
Ms. Lunsky.
motion for staff approval.
We have a motion to approve by Lunsky, second by Veen. Seeing no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes. Osowski dissents. Move on to item number 3.9, Agristo Working Draft Document Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Phelan.
Council Vice President Weigel, here, this is another exciting investment, and we did make the public announcement on Friday of last week about this particular investment. I'm also joined by Gary Shields from the Northern potato growers here in our region for both North Dakota and Minnesota. I'm going to ask him to come up and provide a few words. Essentially, what's in front of you is something that we've been working on for some time. Number one, the most of the credit goes to the potato growers. So this project would not be in front of us without Northern Valley potato growers, both in North Dakota and Minnesota. Over the last 3 years, they've been doing potato trials. They've been working with Agristo, and really the potato won the day for this region. With that, another positive part of working with the potato growers is they wanted Grand Forks to be the hub for the processing facility. And so we've worked mainly on the processing facility as part of this project. It's estimated at a $450 million investment. And in addition, there is going to be about $100 to $150 million storage investment on the farm, off the farm to help support this. So overall, this is a significant investment. And I think, as Hal Gershman told me the other night, I think really the unique part of this investment is this is a new industry. And certainly we're very strong in potatoes in our area, but this will bring a new potato to our region and new support for a facility, for storage, and to add back acreage to potato acres. And as we looked at various other states that we competed with, to include Wisconsin, if you look at what their potato acreage production is, they've generally stayed the same. And so if they had 10 acres in 1980, they generally have about 10 acres today. In North Dakota, we've reduced significantly our acreage of potatoes, and that's mainly in the dry land potato area. And so the great thing about this new European variety, yellow potato variety, is that it can be grown in irrigated acreage, and it can also be grown in dry land acres. So I think right now they're looking at it being a 50-50 advice. So really, this is going to return a high-valued crop to our growers in northern North Dakota and northwest Minnesota as we move forward. So it's really an incredible time as we move forward here. A lot of the incentives are going to be state-driven, and so we have many bullets on there. And so what we tried to advise is most of as you look through all the various sales tax, corporate income tax, various loans from either Department of Commerce, Department of Ag, those are all state-related. So what we've been doing over the last year or so is working with the state of North Dakota on the various incentives that they provide. And so when we've advised Agristo on competing with in North Dakota versus the site in Wisconsin, we've utilized all the various state programs. And so as you see all the values that we've attributed to Agristo, those are coming from existing state programs. The one program which is on the top, the first bullet is this forgivable infrastructure loan of $30 million. Again, that will have to be legislation that we'll move forward with leadership in the House and Senate this current session. So we're working on that, working specifically with Representative Jared Haggard on that. And so that's what the state of North Dakota has done to help land large agribusiness projects in our state. And so we're following down a similar path of having a kind of a closing account to close the financial difference that we have with the state of Wisconsin. And so that's really a big requirement that we're going to have as we move forward. The one thing the city of Grand Forks will need to lead is the tax incentives. So right now we have a 20-year 90% property tax exemption. They are looking at various sites in the north part of Grand Forks. One of them is the Fufang site. Other sites north of there, but the primary 1A site is the Fufang site is that they're looking at. We've landed at the 20-year 90%. The state of Wisconsin and the locality have offered a 20-year 100% tax exemption for this facility. And even though it's a $450 million investment, it's likely something $200 million or less of a taxable value when it comes down to it. And so we felt when we negotiated this is that we did need to leave a percentage for all the various taxing entities, and that's where we landed at the 20-year 90%. Again, those are also exemptions that you've provided, as I noted, for Memorial Village, for the downtown projects. Many of those have received a 20-year 90%. We estimate the value of this, taxable value of this is probably around 175 to 200 million dollars is ultimately what, so it'll be a large property tax, even at the 10% for all the various taxing entities. With that, I like to call, a lot of the growers are in Belgium this week here, reviewing the company at Gristo, talking with their various farmers. And so it's really a big deal for them and really a big deal for the city of Grand Forks to come through with all their work and effort and really to be the host of this new industry that's coming to our community. And with that, I'd like to call on Gary Shields on behalf of the potato growers and provide you some thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Mr. Shields, welcome.
Good evening, Vice President Weigel, Council, Mayor. I feel like I've been living here for the last 3-4 years. I've had the pleasure of watching every council meeting, attending a few, but my hobby is watching what's happening to what I consider my town of 53 years. Came here through the Grand Forks Air Force Base. Recently worked on about $2.5 million project, bringing in the Veterans Park with Mike Hagan and myself. I only bring that up because I had the opportunity to work with the city, and I've just learned a lot about investments and things that we've done in the community. August 1st, I was hired to be the executive director of the Northland Potato Growers Association. I've been on their board 6 years. I started working there in 1989, a little younger than I am now, but I know this industry well, and quite frankly, it's my family that I don't have due to the military. I'm here tonight to answer any questions. I will be in Bismarck this week. I've been in Bismarck previously through the efforts of Representative Haggard, as Mr. Phelan mentioned. We have drafted a bill. A bill has been drafted to go into the House of Representatives that we're hoping to get into the Senate. And this week we'll state our case through our North Dakota Council, which funds our North Dakota potato growers. I do have to mention that Northland Potato Growers Association encompasses not only North Dakota potato growers, but also Minnesota potato growers. There is an area in the Becker-Clear Lake area down by the cities that is called Area 2. We are Area 1. They do not have to put funds in, but we're doing test trials in all areas. This project will not only benefit Grand Forks, but it'll also benefit our state. It'll benefit the people that come and buy drinks and buy food and go to movie theaters in this town and have since Grand Forks started. So the potential is greater than Grand Forks. It encompasses 12 counties, which, as Mr. Phelan indicated, will be a ratio of dry land and irrigated. I'd like to address just very quickly, why did we lose our acres? When I started in 1989, we were in a drought. I was trying to sell some marketing. I had Sun Valley Equipment on Highway 81 tell me, you get 3 inches of rain, I'll buy everything you have. And then the rains came, and then 1997 came. But what happened is we lost our potato chip acres. We were a dry land Norland chip variety potato, and because we didn't have irrigation at that time, and I think what folks have to understand, I won't get into the weeds on it, but the glacier put the fine soil here, which is why we won this contract. It is our soil that got us this contract from the competing states that we competed against, and our heritage. I'm not taking away from the work that was done through the state legislature and city, and certainly economic development. But the truth is, it's our soil and our people. That's what drives this business, and that's why we have a potato industry today. When that dry land Nord chip left the valley and went to irrigated Snowden variety, we weren't able to replace those acres. But at that time, irrigation outside of the valley, you go to Larimore, to the Hoverson Farms, and you go out to the Van Ray Farms out in Ray, and you go east, we have irrigation out in the Minter area and Corcerton area too. That guarantees a crop. So when you're in a situation where you're trying to guarantee a crop, we both have irrigation and dry land, and those ratios will fluctuate depending on Mother Nature. So I am here to answer any questions, but I just wanted to give you a brief history of myself. In conclusion, this is not a knee-jerk project. This project has been in the work for years. This is a family-owned company. Please go to Agristo and look at their culture. I've been with these folks many times. I just got back from Orlando yesterday attending the National Potato Council meetings, and I sat down with every one of them. Nellie, their accountant, these folks will move here to help run this organization. I'll entertain any questions, and thank you for allowing me to provide that.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Mr. Phelan, Ms. Osowski, comments?
Yeah, I have lots of comments. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer questions on behalf of Agrisco, are you?
You know, I'm going to answer anything that I think I can answer correctly. Councilmember Osowski, I have had the distinct pleasure of attending these council and listening to these meetings, and I think you asked some very, very intelligent questions, and I'm excited to address all of them.
I'm sure you are.
I am. And by the way, I did have the pleasure of visiting with Dwayne this afternoon, and I just wanted to educate myself, and he's been a friend for years. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't have to reach out to my father to try to get me to vote a
No,
certain way,
actually,
sir.
it was on an unrelated subject. so.
Anyways. I understand, and this might be, I mean, you can stand up there if you'd like. So I understand that because of the new rules with CFIUS that they will investigate anything within 100 miles of their Air Force base. I am going to ask, though, that Agristo file ahead of time with CFIUS instead of waiting for them to approach you. I think that that would be a very good first step, at least for me anyways. I am not opposed to this project. I understand that we live in potato country and we do have the best soil for growing potatoes. I understand. But I think, and I'm really excited to hopefully get rid of Fufang. So I think though that we need to be very cautious moving forward with this project. I think that we lost a lot of trust with our citizens during Fufang, and some of us didn't act appropriately. And so I am more than willing to move forward with this project, and I'm excited about it as long as Agristo is able to answer all the questions that we have and be good partners to the city of Grand Forks. So welcome, and I hope you buy Fufang's land. So
Just for the record, so agree, Northland Potatoes can't represent.
right, that's why I was like,
We
I don't
will-
think this is, I would like them to file with CFIUS before CFIUS comes around. It's gonna get done anyways. I think that that would make me feel a lot better going into it. I think right now is a perfect time when I could have really used Ken Vian's suggestion of an after summary review on the Fufang project to really point out where we may have gone wrong on it. But I'm excited about the project. I'm excited for the potato growers. I just want to make sure that we do the right thing and we put all the concerns of not just me, but our citizens, at rest so that they feel comfortable with this also. The thing I'm not happy about is I'm not happy that this is not an American company. Once again, I do not think we should be giving tax incentives to non-American companies. Maybe something that would have made me feel a little bit better is if even Agristo tried to do a joint venture with an American company. but at this point, I don't see any issues with Agristo or Belgium, so I look forward to you guys being a part of our community. Thank you.
Council Vice President Weigel and Councilmember Osowski. So we'll bring all those messages back, and one of the lessons we learned, we wanted to let the council know sooner rather than later, so hence we're doing a memorandum of understanding. And in the previous project that we spoke about, we brought a development agreement, so we're getting it to you sooner rather than later. I think the other thing is, we really have a role in this, the tax incentive, what we're talking about now, infrastructure development, we hope they go at a site where we're already putting in infrastructure development. We have, various financing mechanisms that we work on. I would just say, just as order of magnitude, right now, from an environmental infrastructure perspective, Agristo, we're anticipating about 700,000 gallons of water per day. And if you recall, then probably similar on the wastewater side. So you can see the order of magnitude. That's a smaller volume of water than what we get from J.R. Simplot's facility. And as you recalled with the Fufang project, that was about 6 million gallons per day of river water, and then it was about 2.5 million gallons per day on the wastewater side. So you can see order of magnitude. This is much more in our sweet spot of we already have facilities like this that are producing and processing similar potatoes. And in this case, it's going to be at a smaller rate. Obviously, it's a modern facility. It's going to have lots of automation, and it's going to have less water use. And because they're going to want to reduce their cost per unit as much as possible. So just so you have some sense of an order of magnitude of what we're talking about, it's really an exciting investment for Grand Forks and our entire region. And in this case, a lot of projects start with the city of Grand Forks, and then we try to move the project forward. You have to understand, in this case, this came from the grassroots. This came from the growers, the farmers, and they have picked Grand Forks as a site for this processing facility. So I hope you can all appreciate how this project started and the weight and the gravity that we have to deliver and execute the very best that we can.
Councilmember Osowski, Mayor, Council, prior to taking this position, I really had to think long and hard before I engaged in this, because observing what's happened to our town over the last years, my goal is to make sure that we can reunite through this project. To your point about being a foreign company, this is kind of the way the world is going now, where a lot of the things that we receive today, there isn't a French fry or in a Walmart or a Sam's Club that hasn't been shipped over on a boat. You can't pick up an orange without it being coming from Brazil. These processors are coming to America. The demand for process is the fastest growing segment of chip, processed, seed, and fresh. If you Google it, it's coming, and it's just by the nature of how folks like to make their food and have convenience. I have done my homework. This is truly a family business, and Councilmember Osowski, I really, really appreciate that these things are going to be addressed up front. You are actually going to help a lot of folks in this community understand the truth up front. And I really, really mean this when I say this, that watching all the council meetings and with everybody, you ask the tough questions. Like myself, I'm always the person in the room that I get the phone call later saying, man, you said what I want to know. Our community appreciates all of these things. I have an office in East Grand Forks. I have business cards on me, and I encourage everybody in this room to come and see me. We are fully transparent. I represent all of the potato growers in North Dakota, Minnesota. It's not about me. It's about, since 1946, when this association started, what can we do to bring value-added agriculture at a level that's acceptable to everybody? And in conclusion, these plants that they build today, their technologies provide the footprints of what they release completely different than what you're seeing today that exists. So we have done our homework. We're very excited, and I thank everybody for allowing us. I did meet with Tamus Houlihan, the executive director from Wisconsin, last week. He graciously shook my hand and he said, congratulations. there are people that wanted this project, and because of our state, our city, and our economic development, Representative Haggard and all of our constituents realize that this is the real deal, and eat a potato product every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Mr. Phelan. Mr. Veen, comments?
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of good things that have been talked about today, and I appreciate it. I do like the idea of bringing dryland potatoes back, because if you go days of old, there was all kinds of, up and down the valley, it was full of dryland potatoes, which doesn't exist, or at least to that level, and I appreciate it. The one thing that I wanted to also mention is this is a request for the preliminary memorandum of understanding. Unlike Fufang, we went to a development agreement. This is going to be just a memorandum of understanding to begin with, but it will evolve into a development agreement, right?
You are correct, and maybe I could have Mr. Gostad kind of explain kind of his thoughts on moving forward through that development agreement process.
Yeah, because that's one of my concerns, it would be what that process is.
I think if you, Councilman Veen and members of the committee, if you take a look at its recital number 6, I think it spells out exactly what we're intending with this memorandum of understanding. It is just to establish a preliminary and working framework to begin and pursue the good faith negotiations between the city and Agree-Still to then develop or enter into a development agreement that would be mutually agreeable for both sides. And then if you turn to it's section 2.1.3, it talks about various items the development agreement would the parties anticipate. And again, we're waiting for comments back from Agree-Still on this document, but it spells out that these are the areas that we'd anticipate the negotiations would address and the development agreement would address. So it is simply to memorialize and an understanding between the city and the developer that we're going to enter into negotiations. We're going to have ultimately hopefully reach a mutually agreeable development agreement with all kinds of conditions. So this is the first step before the development agreement. And if you take a look at it, one of the items listed are there are conditions precedent that would have to be required before either party would have to even perform under the development agreement. So this is a condition before the development agreement, which will have itself additional conditions that would need to be satisfied before the city moves forward or the developer would have to move forward.
Yeah. I do think there's a lot of details there that need to be understood and worked out. I don't want to be in a position of, like I thought I did the first time, was thinking that we did the development agreement, we would have the ability to correct it. We did a lot of studies, but that was the development agreement. And so this time around, I hope we can have a chance to have feedback or input early into the development agreement. My concern will continue to be making sure we address infrastructure properly. And not that we wouldn't, but that it is water, wastewater. I like the idea, what I've heard so far of the 700,000 gallons per minute. I think that's very doable compared to the issues we had before. We'll still have wastewater that we'll have to make sure is addressed properly. We'll still have transportation issues that we'll have to make sure we address too. So I think all of those things are going to have to be, and will be outlined in the development agreement, and how we go about studying or having the right amount of input into it from third party or whatever we're going to do. It'll be an opportunity to do that. Sustainability, I think, is important. I'm hoping that we're looking at that as a part of this project too. But this is an important first step to at least have this understanding before we get into a final development agreement. So anyway, yeah, I look forward to doing it, and in fact would make the motion to approve the memorandum of understanding.
We have a motion to approve the MOU by Mr. Veen, second by Ms. Lunsky. Further comments? Ms. Berg? I just want to say this is a really great and exciting opportunity. I want to thank Agree-Still for choosing Grand Forks. Thank you. Mr. Phelan, just one question. We talk about tax incentives This will all go to that committee. That's what the school board, county, and so on, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, Council Vice Chair. It'll go to that local advisory committee. We wanted to get the MOU because as we work through the development agreement, as you recall in previous incentives, we ask you as a city council to allow us to go to the local government advisory committee to get their insight and input. And then we come back here, and then it'll also have to go to the county commission and the school board. So this gives us some authorization, if you approve so, next week for us to start moving forward to bring back the various components.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Mr. Bean?
One question, maybe Mr. Lunder, somebody could, what is the estimated total economic impact to our community with this plant? Have we calculated that yet, or is that something yet to come?
Councilmember Veen, I think on the, on Gary's two-pager there, I think it notes a lot of the economic impact, so it's on the attachment. The potato growers have done some various economic analyses on this particular industry.
I know that there is a kind of a universal formula or whatever we have used that we've talked about before, so I'm assuming that that's in your too.
Yeah. I think what we heard Council Vice President Weigel and Councilmember Veen with this particular industry, as when we've talked about soybeans, this industry with the potato industry is going to have a really much greater multiplier effect than the other industries that we've talked about. But I don't know if Gary, if you have any further insights.
Mr. Shields?
Yes, to the council and Mayor Buczynski, Todd. So some of the bullet points that we have for our legislation, when we put that drafted, when Representative Haggart drafted that $30 million bill, a $450 million direct investment will generate an estimated 1.1 billion in economic activity from construction alone. There's residual effects, beginning and through. So what I did is I brought these sheets with me that I can leave for the council or anyone in the audience. I've given some out. But these are bullet points that we've taken to the legislature, so I think this is very clear. I want to thank Minn Kota Power. Melissa Beach worked with us on this project. And again, I want to thank the Economic Development Office for all of their work, and I want to thank the city for their work that helped us generate this to get to our legislatures to make sure that we can get that bill into the House. So this sheet here will address, and one of the fine points on here, it talks about, will this compete with existing processors in North Dakota? Just very quickly, you have QSR, which is quick service retail, and you have retail. Currently at Simplot, they supply McDonald's, they supply other QSR organizations where you would go and get your French fries with your burger at a fast food restaurant. This will be retail. If you go into a Walmart or go into a Target or somewhere along the line, you will buy a bag of French fries. So this is non-competing. We have Cavendish in Jamestown. I just recently took a tour through there. On the surface, we have everybody on board regarding this not being a competing entity of what we currently have. This is just new business meeting the demands of what society is asking for going for the next 50 years for sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Mr. Phelan, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you both. We'll move on to item number 4, council member discussion matters. Ms. Osowski, do you have anything?
No, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Berg?
Yes, I want to back up a little bit and also thank Saris for looking to expand in our community as well. That's a huge step, and that first step going on to that next step of the additional 60,000, I'm super excited that, again, you chose Grand Forks. I do have another question regarding the 3.5 processing fee that we had previously approved. I'm wondering if
I'll have Mike, I think, you mean on the utility bills and that sort of thing, yeah. I think Mr. Vattensalls could answer any of your questions this evening if you'd like. You want to give a kind of an update on what's going on, Mike, in finance? And I suspect you've gotten some feedback from people.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Vice President Weigel, members of the committee. Ms. Berg, I guess I'm not exactly sure what to address here with, but I assume on the utility bill with the credit card processing, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess beginning on the February bill, is that correct? That we'll be passing on any credit card fee, debit card fee that we are currently getting charged by our credit card processing company. Excuse me. That being our main, I guess, operating software, Tyler Technology. The credit card fees over the last several years have just exponentially grown that we incur. Last year, I believe, it was around $450,000 that we've incurred. And then during the 2025 budget process, we had formulated that budget with the utility funds to incorporate moving those fees onto the users that choose to pay with that higher cost of payment being credit and debit cards. So we formulated 2025's budget to, instead of raising utility fees across the board, including on those that choose to pay with a cheaper form of payment, cash, check, auto withdrawal from your bank account. So that's how we formulated the 2025 budget, and beginning next month, that's when we'll be moving those fees to the users that chose to pay with that type of payment.
I think I saw that there was some concern or that we might not be able to charge maybe the debit card fee, and I just want to make sure that we're in compliance with law.
Yeah, we requested from our credit card processing company, I guess, some direct wordage that we can use just to be consistent across the board. There are many loopholes to the Dodd-Frank Act that many people are referring to, just old legislation that we've seen just changes over the past 15 years or so. But yes, we've also looked at other literature just on local governments being able to move that fee onto the users, and so we're getting some specifics on that, but we'll pass it on as soon as we get that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berg. Ms. Lunsky?
I just wanted to invite everyone to check out the ice rink in Town Square, maybe not tonight or tomorrow night, but Wednesday should be beautiful. It's almost always busy, and it's just really fun to see that downtown.
Thank you, Ms. Lunsky. Mr. Bean?
Nothing.
I don't have anything. Thank you to everybody for attending the meeting. Is there a motion to
I
adjourn?
move adjournment.
Osowski, second by Berg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.